All right, good evening and welcome to the December 11th meeting of the Falmouth Conservation Commission. This meeting is being held virtually via Zoom video conference and is also being broadcast by FCTV on cable channel 9. As this meeting is being recorded by Zoom and broadcast by FCTV, please be cognizant of what you say, how you say it, and what can be seen and heard in your background. We're missing 2 commissioners at the moment. However, we have a quorum. We're moving forward. Just a reminder for commenting, I'll call on each of you in turn so we're not tripping over each other, and that all votes are done by roll call. So when I call your name, please state your name and your vote for the record, even if you've made the motion or the second. To our public attendees, at any time during this meeting, you may enter any comments or questions via the chat function. At the appropriate time, they will be read into the record. If you'd like to participate in a specific hearing, let us know via the chat function. Then at the appropriate time, I will call for public comment. When you are selected, you will be moved into the hearing as a participant. As such, you must have your video enabled, be succinct, and respectful of others. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes each. I understand we have somebody waiting in attendees for the order of conditions. For the record, you cannot speak on that. The hearing has been closed. The order of conditions is discussed among the commissioners only, just so you know. Regarding RDAs, under a request for determination of applicability, the applicant is asking the commission to determine if the provisions of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and or the Falmouth Wetlands bylaw applied to their proposed project. A negative determination is that the provisions of the act and or the bylaw do not apply. Therefore, the project may proceed as proposed. A positive determination means the provisions of the act and or the bylaw do in fact apply and or may require some conditions. Therefore, the project would require a notice of intent application. So as an applicant, you kind of want to hear us say something negative. For the benefit of anyone waiting for a particular hearing tonight, and so that you're not waiting unnecessarily, the following hearings are expected to be continued. Number 10 Central Avenue, 115 Childs River Road, 0 Davisville Road, and 43 Neves Way. And I'd like to thank my colleague Courtney for helping out last week, and I apologize that you got such short notice.
Not a problem. It was you gave me a good script I could operate from.
All right, next up, request for continuance under a notice of intent. First request is Nicholas Holcronis, 10 Central Avenue, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to remove a patio, construct an addition, install a fence, and install plantings. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until January 1st.
January 1st.
We're not meeting on
No, I'm sorry,
1st.
January 8th. Sorry, I don't know what I was thinking. I was looking at the January and the 1. January 8th.
Bird, so moved.
All right, Gladfelter, second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to continue this until January 8th. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Carlo Hawks, aye.
All right, it is unanimous with this quorum. We have continued this until January 8th. Next, Taylor May Carroll, trustee, 115 Childs River Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to license, maintain, and construct an extension on an existing licensed walkway and relocate one existing dolphin pile. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until December 18th.
Bird, so move.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this one until 12/18. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Carla Hawks Eye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until December 18th. Next up, Wayne Van Wart, the Seashell Lane Community Association, Inc., 0 Davisville Road, map and parcel ID is 40-11-013-000, Falmouth, Mass., for permission to reconstruct and enlarge an existing licensed community dock system. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until January 8th.
Bird, so move,
Gladfelter, second.
and we have a reason.
They're working on some issues, Courtney.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this until January 8th. Questions or comments? We're voting on the continuance. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Carla Hawks Eye.
It is unanimous with this quorum. We have continued this until January 8th. Next up, John and Lisa Almquist, 43 Neves Way, Falmouth, Mass., for permission to construct and license a new walkway and pier, construct a patio, shed, landing, and stairs, remove hardscape, and install plantings. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until December 18th.
Bird, so move.
Gladfelter, second.
We have a motion and a second to continue this till 12:18. Questions or comments?
Reason.
We're still working on the plan, Courtney.
Thank you.
We're trying to get as many, on all these continuances, most of them are because we're still working with the engineers, to get a project before you.
No,
With
that's fine.
as few issues as possible.
Yeah, and that's all positive. That's what we want. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. We have a motion and a second. We are voting on the continuance. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Carla Hawks Eye.
It is unanimous with this quorum. We have continued this until 12:18. Next up is a request for continuance under an enforcement order. First up, 58 Westwood Road LLC, care of Robert Martin, 58 Westwood Road, Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted construction of a shed and removal of vegetation within the buffer to a coastal bank and coastal dune. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until January 22nd. Courtney,
Bird, so
that is because he has retained counsel and Brian Wall needs time to review.
Thank you. Bird,
No
so
problem.
move.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this till January 22nd. Any more questions or comments? All right, we're voting on the continuance. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Carla Hawks Eye.
It is unanimous with this quorum. We have continued this hearing until January 22nd. Next up, Joshua O'Brien and Melissa Mayo O'Brien, 22 Deer Pond Road, East Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted installation of a dock, construction of a shed and patio and associated clearing. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the applicant is requesting a continuance until January 22nd.
Bird, so move, and the reason.
Alyssa?
They had some family emergencies to deal with that took precedence, and they are also working with the planning department on attempting to combine the properties. So that might
Okay.
help us with room for mitigation and whatnot.
All right. Thank you.
You
Okay.
need a second, Jamie?
Yes, please.
Then I'll second it. Gladfelter.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We are voting on the continuance. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird, yeah, bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Carlo Hawks Eye.
It's unanimous. We have continued this until January 22nd. Next up are requests for determination of applicability. First up, Suzanne Taylor King, 136 Old Dock Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to elevate an existing garage, conduct regrading, reconstruct an existing rent station, construct 2 additions, reconstruct a breezeway roof, and construct 2 patios. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and a -2 under the bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project solely takes place in an AE flood zone.
Perfect.
Bird, so moved. Thank you for the explanation.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? We're voting. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
I recuse myself in abstention.
All right. We have 1 recusal. However, we still pass. We accept staff's recommendation. Thank you. Next up, David Shastany, 15 Main Entry Road, Falmouth, Mass. For permission to construct a dormer on an existing garage. Alyssa.
Staff recommends a -2 under the state and bylaw. Resource area boundaries are not confirmed, and this project solely takes place in an AE flood zone.
Bird, so moved.
Gladfelter, second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to accept staff's recommendation. Questions or comments? All right, we're voting to accept staff's recommendation. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Carlo Hawks Eye.
It is unanimous. We have accepted staff's recommendation. Thank you to the staff. Next up are hearings under a notice of intent. All hearings of the Falmouth Conservation Commission are held simultaneously under the authorities of the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Falmouth Wetlands Bylaw. Although a single decision of the commission is issued, it represents a separate decision under each authority. As a reminder, public commenting is limited to 3 minutes. So I encourage you to stay within the purview of this board, which are the rules and regulations of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Wetlands Bylaw, and how they pertain to a particular application. The chair reserves the right to stop any commenting that is disparaging or inconsequential to the hearing. First up, Margaret Foffenoff, 30 Woodneck Road, Falmouth, Mass. For after the fact permission to reconstruct a deck, install a patio and fence, resurface the driveway and replace a walkway, and for permission to install mitigation plantings. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I promoted Tim Santos from Merrill Engineering and attorney Toronto Flores from McClellan, Nutter and Fish. I got it right this time, Sarah. Just before you start, there was a late continuance. I see the other applicant in the attendees, and I just want to tell them. So give me 1 second. Mr. Roden, Dana Roden, your hearing has been continued. Your engineer is without power right now, so we have continued your matter to January 8th. Thank you, Tim and Sarah. Sorry about that.
No worries.
All right, Mr. Santos, you're up, sir.
Good evening. For the record, Tim Santos from Merrill Engineers and Land Surveyors representing the applicant. With your permission, I will share my screen.
Yes, sir.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, the property is located at 30 Wood Neck Road. Resource areas on or within 100 feet of the property are a bordering vegetated wetland to the north, south, and west of the property, a coastal bank that more or less wraps around the property, and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Most of you are probably familiar with this project. It came before you, I believe, in October for an RDA for a septic upgrade. That work is done and completed. It's been installed. At that time, staff issued a report and noted a few items that were either reconstructed or constructed without permission from this board. So we filed a notice of intent to address these concerns that were brought to our attention within the enforcement order that was issued. So staff has issued a new staff report for the project before you. I'm going to kind of go through the four main concerns and talk about them, and then we can address any questions or concerns that the board might have. So if you look to the, I guess this would be southwest of the house here, where my little hand is, this stone patio, half moon here, as well as the walkway from the steps that come around the bottom of the steps to the patio, was constructed sometime in 2019 within the lawn areas without a permit. So the half moon patio is no closer than the existing house, but there is a portion of the walkway that is closer. And I'm going to switch here for a second. So what I've done is kind of showed you the 19 feet from the house off the top of the bank. Right now, the closest point is 16. So this highlighted area in yellow is the closer portion of this, what I'll call a wraparound walkway at 17 square feet. We're hoping that the board will allow the half moon patio and the walkway to remain. It was an increase of about 236 square feet of hardscape in an area that was currently lawn at a 3-to-1 ratio within the FWRA zone. That's 708 square feet. We're proposing the mitigation down here in the southeast corner of the property that's kind of currently lawn. The next item in question that we're looking to keep is the fence along Wooden Neck Road. Was installed sometime in 2016. There is a portion, it's a stockade fence. There is a portion that is within the velocity zone, and we're hoping that the board would allow this portion of the fence to remain within the velocity zone. I'm going to, hold on one second. Come here, this highlighted portion here, it's 48 linear feet. Basically from the post of the gate to the west, that is the portion of the stockade fence that's within the velocity zone, and we're hoping the board would allow that to remain. The deck to the rear of the garage, during 2015, the contractor pulled the permit to side the existing garage. At that time, the deck was removed in order to side it, and they decided they wanted to rebuild the deck in kind, install new footings. That's what was done according to the contractor. It is not enlarged. It's within the same footprint that previously existed. We did provide pictures, and we're hoping the board will allow that to remain as is. And so the existing gravel driveway, as you come up, as the final item here, as you come up the slope towards the house, the existing gravel driveway leads to an area that's grass pavers now. They were installed sometime in 2015, as well as the walkway. We're proposing to remove the grass pavers and install a new gravel driveway in this area, as well as a modified walkway. There's an increase in 330 square feet within the A zone, right here and right here. And then 68 square feet. Can't read my writing. I think it's 67 square feet within the B zone, and the mitigation planting requirement at a 2-to-1 and 3-to-1 for that is 1,124 square feet. Again, all the mitigation plantings are in the southeast corner of the property. We believe if the applicant had come in and requested the modification to the driveway and the walkway, they would be approved because they are within existing grassed areas. We have provided some photos within our notice that showed former walkways up in this area as well. I believe that I've touched on all of staff's concerns, and hopefully we've addressed your concerns. So I'll stop sharing and address any questions that you might have.
Thanks, Tim. Sarah, do you have anything you'd like to add at this point?
Sorry, no, I'm fine to answer questions. I think that Tim's comprehensive review shows how we'd like to resolve it. We did file this voluntarily in response to the enforcement order. The bulk of these were done just under 10 years ago. And we realize we need to address them, and hopefully the mitigation we're providing, which meets current regulations, will satisfy the board, and we're happy to answer your questions.
All right, thank you. Jim?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Tim, the portion of the fence in the V zone, that 49 linear feet, is that FEMA V zone or Falmouth V zone or both?
That's FEMA V zone.
What about our 25-foot offset?
It would be approximately an additional 25 feet.
So,
So and the reason why,
74 linear feet.
yeah, so 74 linear feet, and the reason why I was kind of counting the 48 feet is because that's where the gate post is. So ideally, if we had to remove something, if that's the case, we'd like to remove it from that fence post to the gate down, because that's the actual portion of the stockade fence that's within the FEMA V zone.
Yes, no, but we usually don't allow them in our offset portions either, Tim. So the staff would recommend that 74-ish linear feet be removed and replaced with something else. Good thing the little half moon patio didn't move closer, but the little yellow portion, we have to stay consistent. So it's moving closer. The board will have to decide that. And the deck, I can't tell from that picture. It's really unfortunate that we were put into this position. And the board will have to decide, because we've analyzed and scrutinized these pictures, and by providing one picture at an angle really doesn't give us any proof one way or another. We can tell in the aerials it does appear that it's moving closer, but again, the board went out there, they'll need to determine what they'd like to do. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Alyssa?
No comments. Thank you.
All right, commissioner comments or questions? Betsy?
I had written down what Jen said about the fence. We have allowed, I believe there was something about dog fences, and we have allowed, what do you call the
Chain link?
chain link?
No.
We have allowed chain link fences, so you might think of that.
I just noticed that there's a lot of vegetation growing on both sides, and wonder, like, ripping it out now will involve the removal of that vegetation as well, or at least enough to get to it. That was another reason for requesting to keep it, given the dense vegetation. And there are slats, in terms of the water moving through it. It's not tight. It's not like a stockade fence.
Not just the water moving through, it's all the stuff carried in the water that gets trapped.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Please don't interrupt.
Sorry.
Personally, I didn't see enough proof either way, and even talking to the person who built it, as to whether the deck is a little bit larger. So I don't have a problem with that, but certainly unfortunately, the part of the patio is definitely moving closer. So those are my comments. Thanks, Jamie.
Yep. Courtney?
Yeah, I've struggled with a little bit of this, and I'll start with the fence. We've allowed fences, mostly chain link, to exist in velocity zones, I believe, if there's a foot or 18 inches underneath that's clear to allow wildlife passage. Am I correct on that? Jen?
You've allowed some type of like chain link or mesh fencing for the enclosures for like animals.
Well, I'm just thinking that we've allowed fences in a velocity zone or in an A zone, but as long as there was at least a foot to 18 inches clear on the bottom for the passage of wildlife. Now, maybe I'm confusing things. I'm just asking for a clarification of what we've allowed.
You have allowed stockade fences in A zones, not B zones, as long as they have allowed for the passage of wildlife. We have also allowed fences, and like as Betsy says, we have allowed a certain type of fencing. You just saw it on 96 Edgewater Drive in North Falmouth, some type of mesh wire type fencing for the enclosure of dogs.
Mhm.
And that goes down to the ground, Courtney. So
What's
the
that?
dogs, those fences go down to
Go
the
down to ground.
ground so that dogs don't, I mean, wildlife doesn't get in, and well, of course, wildlife just jumps over if it's big enough, and dogs can't get out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wrestling with the regulations versus, the impact of this, and I'm trying to find a middle ground. That's why I'm asking my questions. I understand the rationale of the owners of wanting to have a fence there because of the amount of traffic on Wood Neck Road going down to the beach, and they want some privacy. They don't want people walking through their property. And I can relate to that because I live within a quarter of a mile of that and go to that beach all the time, and I understand it. So I'm trying to reconcile their needs versus our regulations, to be frank with you. And so that's why I was asking about whether or not we allowed for a fence with the passage of space underneath for the passage of wildlife. And I'm not worried about people's dogs. I'm worried about, turkeys and coyotes and groundhogs and other wee beasties that
Move on.
run around, So that's one focus of my question. Second part of it is the landing area where the stairs come down. And this comes back to a situation that we wrestled with, is the amount of encroachment of that stone patio essentially de minimis and therefore it's allowable. And the fact is that about 2 or 3 years ago, we had a case in Woods Hole where a set of steps came down from a deck and landed within the resource area by a foot. And my argument was that was de minimis and it's okay to allow it. However, the board felt differently and the steps had to be pulled back. So I see this as a parallel situation. And while I don't have a problem with that patio where it is and its impact, we have to be consistent. So those are my comments on all of that.
All right. Thank you. All right. Sarah, I have a rhetorical statement to make. You said there's a whole bunch of vegetation. That's a good thing because that solves your problem of privacy. So my take on the fence is if it was converted to chain link with all that vegetation, it would solve two of your problems. You'd still have the privacy and you would keep people from walking through because of the chain link. The patio, I think we agreed the half moon shape is going to stay or can stay. We lose Jen? Good.
She lost power.
Or she just didn't want to hear me speak. All right. So if we're leaving the half moon, my take is similar to what Courtney said about where the landing is. We make them remove that patio, that's at the landing of that stairway. If we try to push that stairway to get completely rebuilt, that to me is just, I don't know, it's kind of silly. My proposal would be to allow the landing piece, which I think you said was 17 or 19 square feet, to stay, but I would ask you to provide mitigation for it. Because the mitigation would be, you know, helpful to the resources, and the landing, it just makes it a safer piece. So I understand the precedent and all that. I don't know if Alyssa, again, rhetorical, that, you know, if we can do a waiver or what have you, where we're not getting into a pile of trouble down the road. But that's my thoughts on that landing piece and the fence so far. The deck, I agree, the pictures don't really show it one way or the other. So we accepted your argument that it didn't increase, and our argument is it did. Is there a way to find a middle ground and call the piece that's cantilevered, which is, I didn't measure it, but 20, 30 square feet, could we get some mitigation for that? That would be an improvement to the resources. And that's my opinion. The gravel driveway, I don't have a problem with. You're offering 2-to-1 mitigation. So those are my comments, something to think about. Kevin.
I think I have a lot to think about. No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Maury.
I ditto what you said, Jamie, and the deck that we really can't tell if it's larger or smaller, but just for semantics, and it's about 14 feet long, that cantilevered length, and about 2 feet wide, like the 2x4 that goes over. So if we could get mitigation, 28 square feet, and improve the resources with more plants down below. And that's all I have to say. Jamie said.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Alyssa, do you have the ability to can you tell me if there's anything in the public chat function?
Yes, so there is nothing in the
Please.
public chat for this project. I don't see any hands raised. And Justin, can you make me host or co-host so I can move everyone around? Thank
That's
you.
what I meant by that. Do you have the ability?
I did put it in a chat to him. I'm not sure if he got it.
Okay.
Hopefully he can hear me. Or it's just us.
Okay. All right. Tim, anything you'd like to add at this point?
Yeah, I have been texting with the property manager, and we do want to keep the fence, but we understand the board's position. So if it has to be chain link, then we're willing to accept chain link. As far as the cantilevered part being mitigated for at 3-to-1, I believe that's a good compromise because no one can prove it one way or another. So he's fine with that. What we were hoping for is to try to get the hearing closed tonight, and I could submit a revised plan showing with a note with that portion of the fence to be removed and replaced with chain link, as well as the additional 84, 100 square feet, whatever it might be, for that cantilevered portion of the deck.
Okay. Did that address everything? So the deck, the fence, the patio landing.
I think the board just needs, I'm hoping that it's pretty bit de minimis at 17 square feet, and we are including a 3-to-1 mitigation for that. That's the mitigation.
Did include that.
Yes.
If you said that, I missed it. I'm sorry. Okay.
For the whole patio, right, Tim?
It's for the half moon patio plus that walkway.
Okay.
It's 230 square feet total, and between the half moon plus the walkway, and at a 3-to-1 was 708.
And then the gravel driveway is 2-to-1.
The gravel driveway is 3-1 within the A, and then the walkway is 2-1 within the B.
You said that, thank you.
And I can make the changes tomorrow and get it to you tomorrow. So I'm just trying to help move this project along.
Right. Sarah, you had your hand up and I missed you. I'm sorry.
I just, the reason I just wanted to clarify what I meant about the vegetation growing on the fence. You're 100% right. We want that vegetation there to help with the screening. Once the chain link fence is there, that vegetation can help for that screening problem. But where we have to take out the old and put in the new chain link, I just want to make it clear that there will be some disruption to that planning. If that's okay, that is part of the package, then that's what we'll do. But I just didn't want that was my point for saying that the disturbance, not necessarily concern or hesitancy for planting.
Okay. Courtney.
I just want to make it clear that when the new chain link fence is designed, that there's the gap of either a foot or 18 inches underneath for further passage is taken into account in the planning and construction of that.
But then
You understand what, in other words, the idea is we put fences in areas like this where there's a buffer, you want to make sure that wildlife has ability to move freely around. And so you leave a gap underneath so the wee beasties can get through. Now, as presumably those wee beasties won't include the tourists going down to the beach, which I rather doubt. So I think it satisfies your client's concern for privacy, and it satisfies our concern for helping the environment.
Hold on. All right. You good, Courtney?
I'm done.
All right. Jen, you had your hand up.
No, I just wanted to let you know I was back, Mr. Chairman. And Courtney, we can work on them. Usually when we have chain link, we don't require it to be all the way to the ground. I mean, the purpose is for a dog fence. If animals can pass freely through the bottom, so probably can a small dog. So we will work with them. If the board wants that section of fence removed, we can work with them for the installation of a chain link that will allow some passage of wildlife through it, as well as some screening for them.
That's exactly what I'm concerned about. We want to be
And I
consistent.
apologize for my little power glitch, Mr. Chairman.
Don't let it happen again.
No,
Betsy,
I
you had
just,
your hand up.
I just want to be consistent with what we're
Okay.
requiring on these things.
We will make it consistent, Courtney, believe me.
I'm sure you will. Thank you. That's why you're here. And that's why we love you.
Thank you.
Jamie, may I make a motion? I'll make a motion to close the hearing and take it under advisement.
Bird, second.
All right. Before the motion was made, Sarah had her hand up. Sarah, before
Yeah,
we close this.
I think Jen addressed it, that the dog issue is the point, and I know we've worked with them before. So if Jen's on that point, I'm happy to have that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So Jen, I don't know how much you heard. If Tim can make these minor adjustments to the plan, I don't see the need to continue this for that purpose. Alyssa, would you agree or disagree?
To be honest, I caught half of the discussion because I was trying to figure out how to become host in case Jen didn't come back, so we all weren't
Okay.
trapped. So
just the
I can't
changes
really
we
answer
talked
that.
about, says he can get on a plan. I don't see the need to continue this for that purpose. So we have a motion and a second on the table, close the hearing. And if there's no further discussion, we're going to vote on that. We're
I can
voting.
watch the hearing. I'll watch the hearing tomorrow, Mr. Chairman, to make sure that I'm on the same page with Tim and Sarah.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll get you a plan tomorrow.
Okay.
So-
Thank you, Tim.
All right. All right. Again, the motion and the second is on the table to close the hearing. We're going to vote. Betsy, can you hear me?
Yeah, I just voted.
I'm sorry.
I'd filter
But I
aye.
didn't hear you.
Bird, eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Carlo Hawk's eye.
It is unanimous with this quorum. We have closed this hearing. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you for working with
Thank
us.
you.
And
Yes,
have a great night.
thanks very much. Should we stick around for, I know we're on the agenda at the end, or is this hand addresses that?
Most likely, Sarah, and we'll just continue it out for
Okay.
another week, just so just so we know how the board votes. So I might kick it to January 8th, just so the board can vote next week. And then on the 8th, we can close that enforcement matter.
That sounds great. Okay, got it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank
No
Leave it
problem.
for you. Thanks. Have a good evening, everyone.
You too.
Did you wish us a good weekend?
I haven't got there yet. I was letting Sarah finish. I just wanted to say thank you. Have a great night. Everybody have a great weekend.
Okay.
Well,
Good night, Tim.
No cold for you, Jamie, or I mean, Tim.
All right. Next up, Jen, I heard you say earlier this was continued, but I don't think this was previously continued. So I'm going to state it, go from there. Next up is Dana Roden, Quistit Harbor House Land Trust, 71 Quistit Harbor Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to reconstruct an existing licensed pier in the same footprint. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, this was a late continuance. The applicant's representative is requesting a continuance till January 8th. And this is because Courtney, he lost power.
Okay. Sounds good. I'll move to continue this to the 18th at the request, I
Eighth.
mean,
Eight.
the 8th of January at the request of the applicant.
Second,
Yes.
Gladfelter.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to continue this to January 8th. We're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird, aye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury.
Harlow Hawks Eye.
This,
Harlow Hawks Eye.
I got you. Thank you. Unanimous with this quorum. We have continued this until January 8th. Next up, David Ryan, Cape Cod Oyster Company, Megansett Harbor, North Falmouth, Mass, for permission to change the aquaculture method used in sites number A1506 and A1702 from culturing oysters in bottom cages to the use of a floating culture system. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Justin, can you make me host again? Or move Mr. Ryan into the meeting, please? Thank you. 1 second, Mr. Chairman. Gonna make Justin. Oh, wait a minute. What did I do? What did I do? Make co-host. Yes. And then Mr. Ryan, I'm coming to get you right now. I am promoting Dave Ryan, president of Cape Cod Oyster Company, up as a panelist to present his project.
Ryan.
Dave, you'll need to unmute and turn on your camera so you can present your project. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you went blank for a minute or two there while I was joining, but you've got me now.
Yep, we have
Yes.
you now.
So am I up?
Yes, you are. You're all set.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to all the commission and staff for having me tonight. As you may know, the select board transferred two aquaculture licenses from the Perini family to me last week at the select board meeting, and so I'm here tonight to present to you for a change of culture method from bottom culture to floating gear. A package was submitted to Jennifer Lincoln with a cover letter explaining what we wanted to do, along with the notice of intent that was submitted to the various state agencies that were required. I do have a short PowerPoint. If I'm allowed to share screen, I can go through it, I think in just about 4 or 5 minutes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I don't see myself, but I do see my screen. Do you guys see my?
You haven't shared yet, no.
Okay.
No.
Um, shit, rats. Are you seeing my screen now?
No.
Huh. I don't do this frequently, but I did practice this several times. I thought I had it down. All right, let me hit this button. I got a message that said screen sharing has failed to start.
Screen sharing was failed to start.
Yeah.
Oh,
There it is.
Here it is.
Oh, we
Oh.
see your Zoom screen. We see
No,
your Google, Dave.
that's not what I wanted.
Just need to find where
Yeah, where did the PowerPoint go? Jesus.
your computer ate it. Minimize that and go to the,
Apologize for this, people.
I appreciate.
I had it right on the taskbar. Jeez, I can, if you can hear me fine, I guess I'll attempt it without the PowerPoint. A little bit disappointed unless you want to give me another minute.
Dave, if you want to email it to me, I can share it for you real quick. That might be easier for you.
Yeah.
If you want to just shoot it into an email for me, you can talk while I'm loading it up, and
Yeah,
I can share that for you.
the problem is I'm not, I can't, I don't see it.
all right, why don't you just discuss what you're proposing and
Sure.
we'll see if
Well, anyway,
that
so
is
it was
suffices.
just a few slides, but I'm full-time in the aquaculture industry.
Dave, do you want to stop sharing so we can see you?
Sure. Yeah.
Yep, stop sharing. Email the presentation to me, Dave, because we have to continue you anyway because you don't have a DEP number. I can forward your presentation to the commission. They can watch it, and if they have any questions at the next hearing, they can
Sure.
ask you. But
Yep.
why don't you just try to verbally explain it?
Yeah.
Great.
I have farms in the town of Barnstable, two different farms in Barnstable. One is a 14-acre intertidal site. I have a site in Waquoipe, which is a river setting, so it's all subtidal, which is permitted for floating equipment. And then another site in West Bay, which is all bottom culture. So the point of the three different farms is that I have three entirely different farm practices based on the site. A problem that's inherent to any type of aquaculture is what we call biofouling. So anything that's on the bottom all the time just gets fouled with plant and animal material, and drying your equipment to allow for the growth of oysters or any aquaculture product needs to take place to keep gear clean. The advantage of floating equipment is that you can keep baskets you can keep your growing media up on the surface and periodically rotate it so that the sun does the drying for you. So that's what we do down in the Seapit River in Waquoit Bay right now. When I took over the farm, there was an older type of technology called oyster grow that was used, that I used for a few years, but began to test out this equipment called Flip Farm. So in Flip Farm, your baskets are small, they're strung along a floating line, and it's pretty involved to get set up. But once you're set up, you can flip and harvest and fill seed and do all your maintenance pretty efficiently using a series of working platforms and ramps and gravity to really do all the heavy lifting. So I've designed a number of different anchoring systems for over at Waquoit Bay. I've got 12,000 bags down at that site. We've never lost a single line. We've gotten pretty good at analyzing bottom substrates through scuba diving, through the use of underwater cameras, through trial and error. And so we have developed techniques for anchoring securely, and I think it's something that we can do pretty successfully over at Magansett Harbor. Any specific questions from any of the commission members?
Jen?
No, I don't have any questions. I actually saw Mr. Ryan's video of how the flip farming goes. It was pretty impressive. We have no significant issues with Seapit River. So I would recommend to the board moving forward with this notice. Again, I will forward you Mr. Ryan's presentation. We do need to continue this for the issuance of a file number only. It looks like DEP just received his application on November 29th, so I don't know how quickly they can issue a number. We do have several continuances next week, but if this is just for a DEP number, or if the board wants to continue it to January 8th so you can review the video if you have any questions, that's fine too. That's all I
Before we
have,
do
Mr.
that,
Chair.
let's see if we have any questions from the board.
Okay.
Alyssa, did you have anything you'd like to add?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Questions or comments from the board?
I'll rate. Couple of questions.
Courtney, you need to look at the screen when you're speaking because you keep interrupting people and it's not fair to
I'm
everybody else.
sorry, you did, I
know, but look at the screen, you can see who's speaking or not. But for now, go ahead with your comments, please.
my question is, I love oysters, and in wild occurring situations, oysters are on the seafloor or in rocks and so forth along the side. So what does having them floating, does that make any difference in terms of their taste and all that?
Being in a high energy environment, bobbing around on the surface, in wave action and things like that actually promotes a nice deep cup and, really a perfectly shaped oyster.
Oh yeah, I'm just more the flavor's the key to me.
Yeah. And the flavors, it's right there because it's the flavor is all about the phytoplankton that they're eating.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have any other questions. I think,
Yep.
you know your business, and if you feel this is a better way to do it, I'm all for it. Because this
Terrific.
is important.
Can I add one point, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, why not?
The Board of Selectmen may have forwarded some letters from neighbors that overlook the farm on the Seapit River, and I was hoping that those comments are entered into the record for your commission as well.
All right, staff will look into that.
We'll look into that, Dave.
Thank you.
I don't remember seeing anything from the town manager's office, but it doesn't, I know one of the admins was out last week, so I will follow up with her, and anything that they received, I'll have them send down and we'll incorporate it into our record as well.
Thank you.
Not a problem.
All right, continuing with commissioner comments. Betsy.
So I just want to comment that, Dave, I think this is actually a better for the environment. It might take you a while to set it up, but having a flow across the bottom area is going to be better for whatever is living in the sediment there. It's potentially feeding other fish and other things in the food web of the area. So I don't have any problem with this change. In fact, I welcome the change.
Thank you.
Excellent. Kevin,
Couldn't possibly comment on this. Thank you.
Maury,
I agree with Betsy, getting them off the ground. I think it's a much better environmental issue. Thank you. Good presentation.
all right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat pertaining to this project, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Do we have a continuance date?
I mean, let's try for next week. I can't guarantee I'll get a DEP number out of them by then, but I know it looks like we have a lot, but two of the hearings are one, and we could Dave, we'll put you on next week, and hopefully we can get a DEP number for you.
If we
Terrific.
don't,
Thank
we
you.
can continue it right at the beginning, and it won't take any time. And even if we do, closing it for DP number would be quick.
Yep.
At the request of the applicant, I'll make a motion to move this or continue this meeting till 12:18.
Bird second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to continue this till 12:18. We're voting. Betsy,
Butler, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Carla Hawks, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this until next week. Thank
Thanks.
you, Mr. Ryan.
Thank you, Dave. Send me
Thank you.
that.
Sorry for the confusion with the PowerPoint.
Nope. Send me that PowerPoint and I'll get it to the board for you. Okay.
Thank you.
Not a problem. Have a good one.
Thank you.
You gave a good explanation.
All right, the next 1, 2, 3. Next 3 have been previously continued. It brings us to Margaret Strakosh, trustee, Strakosh family, 2014 irrevocable trust, 158 Westwood Road, Falmouth, Mass, for permission to raise, RAZE, an existing single-family dwelling, construct a new single-family dwelling with attached garage, deck, and porch, install a pool with a patio, retaining wall, upgrade the existing sewage disposal system, repair part of the damaged revetment, and install mitigation and restoration plantings. Jen.
Well, I think I just saw a peek of Zach. So we have Zach Bazinski from Bracken Engineering. Wasn't sure if it was going to be you or Rob here to present their project. Hi, Zach.
Hi, good evening. For the record, Zach Basinski, professional engineer, certified flood zone manager from Bracken Engineering. I'm here this evening on behalf of the applicant. I'm going to share my screen at this time.
Excellent.
Thank you. So again, as mentioned, our project site is 158 Westwood Road, existing developed single-family house lot. The lot was created in 1961. There's an existing seawall on the northerly side of the property. This was approved through the Falmouth Commission back in 1976. It's a current mortared wall on the property. Other resource areas on and near the lot are a coastal beach to the north, land subject to coastal storm flowage, and a VE flood zone, elevation 17, and with the associated Falmouth 25-foot offset on here. The existing lot is comprised of a single-family lot sitting predominantly on the high side of the lot, around elevation 21 down to elevation 17. So the applicants are the new homeowners of the lot. They purchased this property over the summer, retained our office to work with them and the design team to redesign a new coastal resilient property with this. Initially, when they had come to us, they were looking to design a structure very similar with the house more seaward on the property, very similar to what the neighbor next door had done with a seawall, or a retaining wall and elevating up the backyard and the property. We've gone through the regulations with them, explained the coastal resiliency of the lot and the issues with current sea level rise, everything in the area. And we've actually talked about pulling the house further back on the lot to create a more coastal resilient property. So the existing structure is actually moved leeward of the seawater and pulled further back onto the lot. All development from a structure standpoint has been designed outside of the 25-foot extension to the FEMA flood zone on the property, with the septic system being sited most leeward on the property. Again, most work predominantly within the conservation area is the construction of the patio, elevated in the back. We are looking to regrade the back of the yard to again make a more coastal resilient property, to also change the effects of any water that's deflected onto our property from the abutting seawall. As part of the overall project, we evaluated the existing seawall that's been mortared on the property down here, and it was discovered during the inspections that it's currently eroding on the back. So water that's running down through our property, through the abutting properties, hitting the back of the seawall and causing all the sediment to go down and erode it. So we're looking to, again, take this seawall apart as part of this application, rebuild it with a new open face seawall, again, maintaining the same 1.5 to 1 slope on the front of it, redesigning it with current technology with a riprap back so water can freely go through, and we can maintain all the sediment on our property. We did receive staff reports about the vegetation being disturbed down in this area. Ideally, what we're going to be doing is bringing all of our equipment through the house, down the backyard, and then dismantling the wall, using the area as a staging, and then rebuilding the wall with an opened structure so water can freely move through it, and then revegetating and replanting the property. There was a staff comment regarding some additional trees in the backyard on the property. We're looking to remove that, because of the fill that we're bringing into the backyard to make this more coastal resilient. Also, because we're in the velocity zone, we're trying to provide a buffer to the existing house to the side of us, replanting that with eastern red cedars. Again, we know we can't plant any coastal fences within the existing velocity zone. So the native vegetation replanting of the trees off on the corners of the property line allows us the privacy that the homeowner is looking to create on the lot. Also allows us the ability to replant vegetation off on the side. We're also asking to maintain this area open in the middle here. So in the future, if we have to get to the other side of the wall, we can repair that. And then we have equipment access around the structure and out through the back. All roof runoff would be contained with new dry wells on site to help mitigate the runoff on site. And again, predominantly the structure is outside of the resource areas. With that, I'll turn it back over.
Thanks, Zach. You can stop sharing. Thank you. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I don't like the grading, Zach. I just don't. I don't think it's necessary. I think that we asked the question of why you're doing it. And we came up with coastal resiliency, everybody's new buzzword, but we're moving an infinity pool almost all the way, even closer than the existing structure is, even though it's outside of that A zone. I'm not quite sure how adding all of that is making the property more coastally resilient, especially removing all the cedars. So I do have an issue with the removal of those existing trees, since, as the staff report noted, there are a number of trees that have come off this property. You're removing quite a bit of vegetation for the repair of that seawall, which it appears you're just going to be chasing those sinkholes all the way down. You don't really know where they
It's
are.
undermining from the top.
Yeah,
based
it
on
is.
the site inspection. So we're asking for that to be in the permit, because unfortunately with the mortar and taking it all apart, we have a feeling it's going to peel apart because we're seeing more sinkholes across the top of the wall.
Yeah. So you don't know, so you're just gonna be kind of like chasing it down, correct? Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Can
And it's
you
gonna be a field
kind of
condition.
show on a plan, I think the staff report requested just like the extent of where you're seeing those sinkholes, so we kind of have a better idea of where, yeah,
Yeah, so the predominant one is in the right hand, this
Yep.
left-hand corner of the site, and Alyssa and I did a site walk. We're noticing
Yep.
all of them chasing all the way down to the existing stairs across the property.
okay,
So again, everything is chasing down this area. So when the equipment's here, this is all going to be the staging area, then we'd restore all that back.
okay, perfect. Perfect. Yeah, and then I think I'm just really concerned with the rest of those trees coming down, and would like to see them saved. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
All righty. Alyssa,
Thank you. So just a follow-up question with the trees. We understand now more so why much of the vegetation by the retaining wall needs to be removed in order to adequately hold the equipment, the swinging arm that you described to me. And plus you might be chasing it and we might keep losing a bit more and more. So kind of explaining how that western section and the middle section are coming out make a lot of sense. I agree with the grading, and based on your new plan, you do show a couple little trees kind of by the fragmented coastal bank, little pines, in addition to what already is, in my opinion, a screening row that kind of goes between the properties. So are those trees going to be replaced with new smaller trees?
We're going to replace them with new cedars in that area to create a buffer between the two properties. So again, I mean, we initially looked at trying to install a fence, but the current regulations prevent us within the velocity zone. So we're trying to create a screening on this property from the neighboring property next door. So when we look at I'm going to share my screen again. So when we look at the abutting property through here, the undergrowth and putting the trees right along the lot line through there, and then the future access around the house to get down there. So the existing cedars, they currently don't have undergrowth underneath them. So the intent here is to create a nice buffer between the sides with that, and these existing trees would prevent the new ones from growing. So again, we're replacing the whole area with this. We're taking 10 trees out, replacing it with 11 back on place. And again, I mean, this area is historically, if we go back and look at when the lot was created, there were no trees on this area. In this area, they've grown up over the last 20 years. So we're trying to balance property, the requirements of what the property owner is, bringing back a buffer zone, and then trying to balance between the two properties here and creating a buffer zone down on the other side here will be in harmony with the other neighbors to the side here, because we're going to replant that with all native vegetation down low that will continue this habitat through this area with it all and still create a coastal resilient structure on the property. So we're balancing a lot of different things on this property and managing it, and we feel we've met the performance standards with the regulations.
Sure, and I realize that based on the aerial photos, there was nothing there then, but it is quite vegetated now. And there already is a line of trees, so why not plant shrubs if the understory's void? Instead of take down, I mean,
Because
there's been so much unpermitted tree removal, and now literally every tree is coming out of jurisdiction, except one close to the house and 3 little ones by the fragmented coastal bank. So replacing big trees with small trees doesn't make sense to me.
No, it's the future maintenance of getting around the structure, getting down to the seawall, maintaining the backyard, getting around the property. So, I mean, we could leave them now, but then there's going to be a future maintenance and we'd be back in front of the commission at a later date to take those out. So we're just trying to design a property that we can create something that's best for the area that we can maintain around, and it's in harmony with everything on this area. And again, provide the privacy to the neighbors so we're not infringing on the neighbors to the east of us on this with the project, and still build something that's coastal resilient. I know it's a buzzword with everything, but it is something that, I mean, being a coastal flood zone manager, we're trying to design these projects that will be here after a storm event.
Yeah, and I won't keep harping on it, but I mean,
Yep.
there's a patio there now too, so you couldn't even get a vehicle back there if you wanted to, if you want to put a patio on a bunch of trees. But
So yeah, no, we
I'll
can
digress.
cross over the patio and come around the side. Mhm.
Near the hot tub?
Yeah, and the
Around
hot
the
tub in
back
the way
side of it.
too.
Yep.
And what is this maintenance you're anticipating coming back to the board to remove the trees? I thought we were rebuilding the wall.
We're rebuilding the wall, but to get around there, if the existing trees stay in place, we're gonna end up damaging those trees at a later date.
What later date? This is what I don't understand. You keep saying at a later date. What's
So we're
happening at a
only
later date from
we're
now?
only repairing a portion of the wall right now. The other section of the other part of the wall, we're not chasing the whole wall at this time. The staff asked to maintain the existing plantings to the northeast corner of the property, so we're leaving that in place and that native vegetation in place.
You mean the one you're maintaining at a height of 5 feet? That's well over 25-foot vista corridor? That area in
In
the corner?
the corner in the northeast corner, yep.
Mm-hmm. Strike that note too. They're not allowed to maintain that whole area at a height of 5 feet. I don't know, and I'm not picking on you, Zach, but all of a sudden
Nope.
we've been seeing these little notes on these plans. Oh, we're going to be maintaining this. No, that's not what the regulations say. I don't know where this little idea came from in the consulting community, but no. But I'm in agreement with Alyssa. We don't particularly like the trees to be removed. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I still have
It
a couple
wasn't
more.
even your turn.
I know.
Alyssa.
Alyssa's not done.
And I mean, if the idea is to continue to chase the work on the revetment, it seems like it'd be prudent to just tackle it all at one time. And if that does mean more vegetation's removed, then just sort of propose it on the plan. And we can add back the restoration in that same area. That would be something I guess I would do in that situation. It looks like based on the plan you're showing, you did, back at my notes, add any trees with a 3-inch DBH or greater. I know we talked in the field that you were going to strike that 5-foot maintenance note. I understand the point of what you're going for, but all the mitigation needs to be relocated into the Zone A, since there is room for it. And then you said you would be going for the Chapter 91 since you do touch the mean high water over there now. It didn't back in when it was originally permitted, but now it's right up against it.
We apply for a Chapter 91 now.
Perfect. And then, like I said, based on the last pictures of the staff report, there has been tree removal over the past several years. So I understand we're putting in a row of screening, but considering the amount of natural vegetation removed, it doesn't feel like the trees are going back in a natural wildlife habitat coastal resiliency format. I think the root systems would do well at holding the land there in addition to shrubs. I understand you're coming in with some grading, but yeah, I have a lot of concerns with this. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner comments and questions. Oh, look, I'm up. Zach, I don't want to beat this to death, but on the basically the west side of the house is where you're going to have construction access for this first piece. I understand that right?
For the seawall portion, I'm going down that west side of the property. Yep.
So why can't that access be future for the rest of the work? Either way, you're cutting across that yard.
No, we're coming through both sides of the yard, coming down for it. So the access is if we come around the rear of the property down the east side in the future date coming around because of the proximity of the existing retaining wall on the left side and getting it across. So the future access is going to be around the right-hand side of the house behind the garage.
Right. Well,
accessing down.
Okay. I just don't understand why you can't maintain the left side access or, plan for that in the future. I mean, you're going to take stuff down on the right side and then replant something. So you're going to have to move new stuff instead of old stuff. It's okay. You don't have to address that. I'm just trying to get it in my own head. That's all. Kevin.
No comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
All right, Maury.
I just had a couple questions. Where the hot tub is, what are all those, are those all boulders?
That's just a patio.
A patio, okay.
Okay.
So my question is, so the house, the original house is almost 20 feet off the east lot line and what is it? 19 feet off the west lot line, and now it's 11 feet and 10 feet. So you basically have boxed yourself in to do any future work on that seawall by just making the house so huge and basically lot line to lot line. And I have to agree with Alyssa and Jen completely on this one, and we usually have debate. If this seawall needs repair, it should be done now, all of it, and not your resiliency to go nitpicking at it as you go. It should be all done now. I don't think that planting a row, I'm just looking at, I'm a landscape construction person, and so isn't Jamie. You've boxed yourself into a point that you're almost making it impossible to do any repair work on that wall by patios, hot tubs, garages, houses. There's really no reason for grading. If you put a retaining wall at the end of your brand new big patio, then it would just be a drop off and all those trees could remain. And I think that would be more prudent. If you're worried about coastal resiliency, then you want to keep the roots and the structure of those established trees than bringing in new small, you don't even have a size on this plan of trees. It just says proposed trees. What are they? 3 to 5 foot, 7 to 8 foot, 10 to 12 foot? Do we have a size?
I'd have to confirm with the landscape architect the size.
All right, well, we're gonna need that. And putting a row of screening in is not coastal resiliency. That's a screening. So I haven't really been very vocal on many plans for a while. This one was very disturbing to me. So I think there's a lot of homework to do, a lot of rethinking that seawall. We don't even, you're talking about working on the seawall and I see no plans for the seawall work. Is that in this notice of intent?
We have it on the second page. The details on the second page for the revetment.
Well, maybe I don't have all the plan then. The one with the, I have the septic, I have 2 sheets.
Yeah, we have the notes on the second page.
All right, I'll let somebody else go and I will continue in my reading. Thank you. And come back with more questions.
I'll come back to you. All right, Betsy.
Lori, tell me if you find it, because I wondered about that also. I'm totally opposed to grading. And if you really want to avoid having runoff from the land to go to in the back of that wall, you should have a nice vegetated 20-foot, 30-foot buffer strip to hold the soil. And so, and I'm totally opposed to having any vegetation cut in the A zone. And I didn't see the seawall plan, but are you going to do what is often done now when seawalls are rebuilt, to put filter cloth behind?
Yes.
Is that is that how you're going to do it?
Yes, we have it on the second sheet here with the detail. So the filter cloth, the riprap stone behind it, rebuild it with a
Okay.
toe stone,
But
and keep it open faced.
yeah, but I agree, if you're going to do it, just get it all done now.
Can you see this plan? There's your septic down below. I just have a blank sheet up top.
Yeah, Zach, I don't think we have the same page 2 that you just showed. We're not picking on you. It's just, it's not here.
Well, that'll explain the confusion. I apologize for that.
Just so you know where we're coming from.
And my last comment, in addition to no grading and vegetated buffer, those are 2 main points, is that there were no trees on the Cape 100 years ago when it was all grazing land. But our goal, if we want a resilient coast, is to have more vegetated buffer protecting the seaward resources from runoff from the land and protecting whatever's built from storm damage. That's all I have,
Correct, and
Jamie.
we're-
Thanks.
Thank you. Courtney,
To follow Betsy, you're right. 100 years ago, there wasn't much native vegetation and trees, but if you go back to the 1600s, this was all old growth forest on the Cape, and they used it for ship masts and stuff. Anyway, I have some other comments. And the infinity pool, is that a manufactured by Endless Pools? Is that what you have? It's a lap pool.
I don't
am I
know
correct?
It's a proposed infinity pool. I don't know who the manufacturer is.
Okay, I've installed it. I looked it up, and Infinity is a brand name for Endless Pools. I've installed several of those over the years, so I understand what goes into it. And basically, all around that enclosure is got to have space for machines, for filters and pumps and all that stuff. And so, what's going on around that area? I mean, do you have
So
a
this
plan
is
that shows that all? I didn't see it in here.
Yeah, so the infinity pool here with the equipment will be put in an area on the back side with the AC units, everything on the back side of the house. I can share that right here. So all the pool equipment is going to be on the back side of the house with the
No,
AC units, everything.
I'm fine with. I'm seeing the layout, but
Yep.
those are at flush. But all around that area, you've got to have equipment.
This is all,
no,
And so what's that isn't a solid patio, is it? And if so,
this is an
where's all the equipment
elevated.
going?
This is elevated over here, and the equipment will be off on the side behind here.
So that's elevated. It's not flush.
No, so this is an elevated, so you have the infinity edge. So this sits up. So the grade here is about elevation 21,
it's-
21 and a half.
And what's the elevation of the surface of the pool?
So the pool all here will be up around 21, 22, and then the grade down here is 17.
Okay,
So this is elevated. This is all elevated up.
so it's not flush. All right, and so
No,
where's
so
the
this-
and the equipment
So
is
your
where?
the equipment will be off on the side through here. Off on the behind of the pool, on the pool back here.
I would like to see more schematics of all of that. That's because, that's not generally the way those things are installed. Everything is compact right around the pool. So,
Courtney, it's just a swimming pool. There's equipment.
Yeah.
Just like any other swimming pool.
yeah, I understand, but the installation of these things is a little trickier than a pool. That's what I'm saying. And that's why I'd like to see it. They don't have to continue it for it. I just want to see more detail. Other than that, I have no other questions.
All right. Jen, is there anything in the public chat function, please?
There actually is a gentleman named John who has his hand raised, so I am going to promote John. Oops. John ran away. John, your hand was raised. If you would like me to promote you to a panelist, will you please raise your hand again? Thank you, sir. I'm going to promote you right now. John, you're being promoted up as a panelist.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? I'm sorry, I've got multiple cameras here.
Yes,
Thank
we
you.
can, sir.
Okay. Hi, my name is John Connor. I live next door at 64 Waterside Drive. I abut the property to the north. And I guess my questions regard the trees as well. Zach, the design looks stunning. I just have a question about the need and the necessity. And forgive me, I'm obviously very new to this process, but it seems like you want to take the trees that are there, or I must say augment the trees that are there with 25 to 30 foot potentially white pines. And I would just ask if there are other options that are not quite as tall. And I ask this with all due respect to my new neighbor. I'm not trying to butt in here, but we're trying to maintain a view just like any other property that is so blessed with this, location. And installing a row of trees that are 30 feet tall on this property does sort of seem to jive with that. And I'm just wondering if you would take that into consideration.
Yes, we can chat with the owner about that. Again, we're not trying to impede on your view or anything from there. We're actually trying to provide a privacy between the two properties.
Right. No, understood. And there is a row of trees there, as kind of disjointed as it is. It does exist already, but that area is actually subject to a huge amount of wind, and so anything that tall is going to get hit pretty hard, especially in the wintertime. So, and that's really my only concern. We can certainly be in touch and base about that. I appreciate if you kind of kept me in the loop, not to butt in too much here, but. And my only other observation is your compass rose is off on your chart.
I'll take a look.
All right. Thank you.
John, thank you for participating.
Thank
Jen,
you.
is there anything else in the public chat function, please?
Nothing in the public chat. And Zach, we didn't get revised plans, that revised page 2 showing that wall. So that's why the commission is, they're questioning it. We don't have it.
Okay.
And just to follow up, when you do look at revising the plan, make sure that all of your mitigation is in zone A and not zone B, because you do not have a fully vegetated zone A. So mitigation is supposed to be as close to the resource area as possible to create a buffer. And by my buffer, I mean a buffer to the resource area, not a buffer between the two properties or either side of the properties. Because you were using that word to talk about, the board thinks of buffer as in buffers to the resource areas being protective of that resource area, and you were using the word buffer as buffering between the two properties. So just wanted to clarify.
No, I mean, just to bring again why we put everything off to the sides like that again is so the maintenance of the wall. I mean, one of the issues here is this wall with all the vegetation was there for years, took the erosion. It took no one can maintain it, no one noticed this. So we're trying to keep it open so we can see all of this and maintain it. And again, in the future, I mean, we're not trying to box ourselves into an issue here, but I mean, this wall is going to need to be repaired now, and it probably need to be repaired again in 50 years from now. I mean, nothing's going to last for this. So we're trying to create a property that allows us to maintain it now and maintain it in the future as well. So we'll take all that under advisement when we look at the redesign.
That would be good, because I'm not really concerned with 50 years from now, Zach. I'm concerned with now. I mean, the vegetation will grow up, and in 50 years, you can remove it again and replant it again.
That's optimistic. All right. All right. Zach, what are you thinking, sir?
Or I'd like to ask a continuance to the next available meeting.
Give me 1 second, Zach. I'm just trying to figure out where's my paper. Where's my agenda? When the power went out, I was flying everywhere. How many do I have continued to the 8th? Wait a minute. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Be 5 continuances on the 8th. Are you okay with that, Mr. Chairman, or do we want to put it off 1 more week to the 15th?
Well, no disrespect to Mr. Bazinski, but I really like it if we could go one more week.
Zach, would January 15th be okay?
There's no possibility for the 8th.
You just heard the chairman.
We're trying to keep this project rolling.
All right, put it on the 8th. Make sure you guys are prepared, please.
Thank you. Appreciate it very much.
If you have anything that you're not clear on, Zach, please reach out to the staff so that we can be, as efficient as possible. Um,
So at the request of the applicant, I'll make a motion to continue this till January 8th.
Bird second.
But I have a question, Jamie.
all right, hold on. So Jen, nothing more on the 8th.
Got it.
All right, Betsy.
I just want to remind Zach that we've said this to people who say, I need this big a house. And they can say, well, yeah, you need that big a house, but not on this lot. Well, the same thing to remind you what Maury said. If you're so concerned to have a pathway to the back, plan the pathway now and maybe make the house dimensions width a little bit less. So you're not selling us on that as a reason for doing what you're doing. So either keep the house the way it is and accept the fact that you don't remove vegetation from the A zone and you're not going to grade, or rethink it and make the house a little bit smaller if you really think you're going to have to get back there. But I think the best idea is that whole wall probably has to be repaired. As long as you're going back, get the whole thing done now. But obviously
All right.
it's not you, it's your client.
We'll review. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the table to continue this till January 8th. We're voting on the continuance. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Harold Hawks, aye.
It is unanimous with this quorum. We have continued this until January 8th. Thank you, Zach.
Thank you, Zach. Good
Thank you,
night.
everyone. Happy holidays.
You too.
Take care.
Same to you, Zach. We're not going to see you next week.
No, I'll be off next week with my scouts.
Oh, well, we'll have fun.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Thank you. All right, the next one's been previously continued. Next up, hearings under an enforcement order, 58 Westwood has been continued. I think I know what's going to happen with this. Jen, do you want to take John out of there?
Yes.
Nice him visiting, but I think he's.
Yes, I will. Okay.
Next up
Should
is a
be gone.
continued hearing under an enforcement order. We all know where this is going, but we have to do the formality. Margaret Foffenoff, 30 Woodneck Road, Falmouth, Mass. Unpermitted construction of a deck, patio, and a fence, reconstruction of a driveway and associated clearing of vegetation, and altering vegetation within a resource area buffer. Jen.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I know you said nothing more on the 8th, but this is just to give the board the opportunity to vote the order of conditions next week, and then we can vote to just
Withdraw this, or
actually, I don't think let me think about that. Let me continue it to January 8th and let me think about that. And I'll reach out to Tim and Sarah. I'm not quite sure I want to close this until the mitigation is planted for the project, but let me think about that for a minute.
okay.
Okay, the request.
Yep.
Board, I'll continue this to January 8th.
Bird second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second on the table to continue this to January 8th. And then Jen, you can work on the logistics of whether we should actually close this or not.
Correct.
But we can
Correct.
always
I'll reach out to Tim and Sarah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you. We can always kick this down the road. All right. We're voting on the continuance to January 8th. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye. Kevin,
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Harold Hawks, aye.
It is unanimous. We have continued this to January 8th, where I said don't continue anything else to January 8th. But what do I know? I'm only the substitute this week. Should have let Courtney run this again. All right. Next up, continued hearing on an enforcement order has been previously continued. Brings us to vote orders of conditions. And I'm not on the quorum, so I'm leaving. Bye. No. Oh, wait. All right. First up is Annalisa and Michael Michelli, 16 Whittemore Avenue, Falmouth, Mass. And the quorum excludes, let me read the list. Jamie.
Well, there are just four of us.
There is just four of you. But it's the four most important ones, so that's all that matters.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Thought I'd try.
I'm working on it, Mr. Chairman. Apparently I'm not working fast. Oh, yeah. Whittemore, it was an addition, mitigation, proposed edge of restoration planting, so it's restoration and mitigation. Was there something about the fire pit, Alyssa?
Yes, so they did acknowledge that the fire pit is not moving closer.
Perfect.
They are proposing mitigation. The shed is moving closer, but it's in a disturbed area of Zone A, so they're also just proposing mitigation.
So the board needs to decide whether you will allow the shed to stay as it is moving closer, and we have not finalized those regulations yet.
Anybody?
Well, it's in lawn and we're gonna get more shrubs, more mitigation. And the other thing I had is the invasives removed before planting, planting before work, and pre-construction on-site. Those are my notes. And they did put the calculation in for the shed in their mitigation. And that's all.
Anybody else?
I did have a note that the staff was inquiring about having more trees added to the site.
Yep.
I think they were open to that.
Yeah, I think you said that and I seconded that. And Maury probably thirded it.
I had a note about data sheets too. Jen, were we missing those? Or do I just...
We should have the data sheets. We'll reach out. Who is this, Tim?
Yeah.
We'll have Tim give us the data sheets.
I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Word, second.
All right. You have a motion, a second on the table, issue an order of conditions. Any other questions, comments, additions? Seeing none, you're going to vote. Betsy.
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney.
Bird eye.
Kevin.
O'Brien, aye.
Maury.
Carlo Hawk's eye.
It is unanimous. With your quorum, you have issued an order of conditions. Next up, 99 Meadow Neck LLC, 99 Meadow Neck Road, Falmouth, Mass.
This is the raise and rebuild. Adding a deck, spa. We need a revised plan showing the replanting of the Zone A in the dog fence area. A dog fence. And I think that was it, just a revised plan to show the little area of Zone A that was cleared where where they're proposing the cedars, and it needs to be filled with shrubs because it was cleared.
Yes, and the only other note I was emailing with Mike Borselli, due to the abutter comments, they may want to relocate 2 of the proposed trees onto the other side of the property. I said it might just be prudent to determine in the field.
Yeah, it's fine.
He'd be willing to meet for that.
Determine tree location in field.
Wasn't that the abutter was asking for?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so the
Yep.
trees that are required, we can put there.
I think some
So
might
we
fit.
require them and then the neighbor gets something out of it too.
And then let's see. They just need to continue the delineations through the whole bank of the property. They kind of stop before it reaches the property line. We just wanted to see that continued.
Yes.
Just in
On a new
case
plan. So they need a new plan to
on a
show that.
revised
Yeah,
plan. Yep.
revised plan. Yeah.
Just in case it goes a little wonky, we want to make sure that that buffer zone is where it should be. And then he was just going to relabel the backyard as to more of a wooded or forested environment since there's a large number of trees as opposed to using the word brush. Brush doesn't mean
Right.
trees to me.
That's right. I'll make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed. I
Bird
had forgotten
second.
that part.
Bird second.
All right, you have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Anything else?
And
All
to
right.
not keep the mitigation at 5 feet. That's that other weird comment.
Don't know where those comments started from.
It was very bizarre.
All of a sudden, we start seeing these notes on the plan, maintain vegetation to a height of 5 feet. Randomly started showing up, kind of like the drones in New Jersey. No 5 foot.
All right, you're voting on issuing an order of conditions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Kevin,
Brian, I.
Maury.
Fellow Hawks Eye.
It is unanimous with your quorum. You have issued an order of conditions. Next up, Paul Broderick, 51 Nemasket Road, Falmouth, Mass.
Yes, this is a raise and rebuild. It's in a V zone. It's got to go up on pilings. They're having a small enclosed space. Vegetation along the edge of the property. Only concern about the neighbor was, I think, the tree. But other than that, it's pretty simple.
I only had one other note, Jen, was just part of the backyard that's being maintained is actually on the association property. So we just needed some permission for them to do work in that area. I think that can just be conditioned. That like written permission.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, anybody have anything else? All right, what are you thinking?
Make a motion to issue an order of conditions as discussed.
Bird
Gladfelter.
second.
All right, you have a motion and a second to issue an order of conditions. Anything else you want to add, subtract, question, or comment? All right, you're voting to issue an order of conditions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Kevin,
O'Brien, I.
Maury.
Fellow Hawks Eye.
All right, it is unanimous with this quorum. You have issued an order of conditions. Jen, I have a question for you about the 8th before we close everything out. All right, next up is vote amended order of conditions, 95 Adamancet Road, Falmouth, Mass.
This is Dan Celine's project. He wants to, I think,
Which from one way to
his,
put,
yeah,
Yeah.
replace his kayak launch system or raise his kayak launch system with a lift because of the fluctuations in Coonamessett Pond.
right. Unfortunately, he didn't read the literature of those things or ask people what the annual cycle of water depth was before he had the first thing. But it's not a big deal.
No. So it's basically a kayak lift.
Yeah.
His kayak launch.
I'll make a motion to issue an amended order of conditions allowing them to do that.
Bird second.
All right, you have a motion and a second to issue an amended order of conditions. Questions, comments, additions, subtractions? All right, you're voting to issue an amended order of conditions. Betsy,
Gladfelter, aye.
Courtney,
Bird eye.
Kevin,
Brian, I.
Maury.
Carlo Hawks eye.
It is unanimous. You have issued an amended order of conditions. Before we break up, Jen, on the 8th, I see one potential issue is Ron and Steve are not on the quorum for 158 Westwood, and Betsy's not going to be here. That leaves 4, which is fine if all 4 of the remaining show up. Or do we ask Ron and or Steve to watch the meeting under the Mullen rule?
I will do that. We'll send an email out to Ron tomorrow asking him and Steve, actually, if they'll both watch the hearing and read the materials and be prepared for the January 8th hearing.
I think it would be helpful, just so we make sure we don't continue yet again. All right, before Courtney's finger falls off, what do you need?
One note, just like to acknowledge that a member of the Board of Selectmen, Heather Goldstone, has been sitting here very patiently throughout our hearing. I hope you had a good education, Heather. Thank you. With that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second, O'Brien.
Gladfelter, aye.
Bird eye.
Matthews, aye.
O'Brien, I.
Carlo Hawks eye.
It is unanimous. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.